Hello and welcome to the Armory. Today we have this C96 Broomhandle Mauser, and this one version is actually called a Bolo. And the reason for that is we're going to do a whole video on that. But the difference between a regular C96 and a Bolo is pretty much the smaller handle and the shorter barrel. But the reason we have this here today is, well, we actually have to fix it. And what's going on with this is the firing pin is broken on it. So we got a new firing pin here because they do make new firing pins for this. And this is actually a relatively easy repair. You actually do not really have to disassemble the gun for this. But we are going to do a full disassembly just to make things a little easier for you to see how everything's really working in here. But to do this without actually taking the gun fully apart, we would just pull the hammer back. And I forgot my flat blade screwdriver. I'll be grabbing that here before we actually disassemble it. But what we would do is we would take it, rotate. Using the flat blade, we would rotate the firing pin and it would just pull on out. And you would again take your new firing pin and go just the opposite. Go in and twist it to lock it in place. So it's really a relatively simple repair. But I'll be honest, a lot of people don't really get to see these Broomhandle Mausers, let alone the insides of them. So we are going to go ahead and do that. But first, if you're new to our channel, hit that like and subscribe button below so that you can be made aware of when we have new content available. Now, this video is actually one that we actually had a poll on. It was between this and the maintenance series of our PTR 91 or our G3 or Set Me. They all take apart the same way. It was a 50-50 toss-up on that poll. So we're going to actually be doing both videos. So this is going to be the first one because, again, I have to do this repair. And it's just, might as well go ahead and do it. And we're going to post this video first, and then we are going to get our PTR 91 video done and out to you. So without further ado, let's go and take this apart. All right, and as I said, all we really need is this flat, small bladed screwdriver. And all you really do is cock the hammer back like it is right now. Right here. Turn it clockwise to loosen it. And it just comes out. To put it back in, you just put it in counterclockwise. And now your firing pin is in. But we're going to actually, this is our old firing pin. I'm going to show you what we actually have going on here. But we're going to actually take this all the way apart so you can actually see how simple this is for such a old and beautiful firearm, to be honest. So we're going to come down here to the floor plate. We're going to push the button with our flat blade screwdriver. It's going to then pop forward and pop up. And we're going to remove the magazine spring and everything out of it. And we're going to just set that to the side here. So then our next step is right back here. And there's a latch right here that holds this whole thing together. So you're just going to take your thumb or your finger, whatever you want to use, pop it up, and just push forward just like that. Now, the lower part of the Mauser is off. So we can just set that to the side, and if it needs cleaning, we just clean it and go from there. So from here, we've got everything. And just take note here, because I've run into this a couple times. This component here likes to pop out on me, and it's easy to get back in, but it's also a little bit of a pain because you have this spring right here that it has to sit on. So what I do is I put my thumb on it to keep it from going anywhere, and you just rotate forward, just push, rotate forward. You hear that click? everything just came apart. And then for cleaning, you can take this off to clean. I do not know the technical names for all these components off the top of my head, but I can, when I do the actual history and development of this firearm, I will actually have the names of these parts for you. But these are actually relatively simple. The only tool you actually need to disassemble is this little flat blade screwdriver. And then we're going to come back here. Now, you'll be able to see right here. I'm going to bring this up. You see the firing pin here is protruding out way too far, to be honest. It shouldn't even be protruding like this. And I can move it with my finger. And what that tells me is that the firing pin has broken. So we can't shoot it with a broken firing pin, because actually assembled, there was times I couldn't even push the firing pin back in. So that would cause a huge issue if you try to shoot it like that. So we're going to come back here, push in, and clockwise, we are going to take the firing pin out. And the reason you need to, regardless of anything, if you're going to be taking the barrel assembly apart, and you're going to have to remove the firing pin. So now we have this safety catch. You're really going to do is you're going to, let's see if I can get it in here. You're going to push it forward, and it's going to pop, and then you're going to put your finger on the back here. There is a spring that this is holding in. So we're going to pull that out, and actually for the first time that spring actually tried to come that way. So we'll pop that in, and we'll pull the bolt assembly out. And as you can see, that part of the firing pin is still stuck in there. So we are actually taking care of that here in a second. So we pull this main spring out, and we are disassembled. Let's go ahead and, there it is, our broken piece of firing pin. So we're going to set this firing pin to the side, and we are going to go from there to our cleaning and disassembly. So I'm going to go ahead, because I have not cleaned this yet. I'm going to clean this, and we'll come back and reassemble this. Alright, so we got it cleaned. So now it's time to go back together. So the first thing we're going to grab here is our bolt. And we're in our barrel assembly. So we're going to take that, put it together, easy. You want your extractor to the top. We're then going to take our mainspring and set our mainspring in. Now, one thing you may notice, let's grab our screwdriver here. The mainspring is sitting pretty much flush with the back of the charging handle bolt assembly. So what we need to do is we need to take our safety catch here, and right up here is where that spring needs to sit. Little trick that I found that works for me. I take our safety catch, I put it in here with the spring. I just put my thumb on it to hold it. I take our screwdriver here, and it's going to be a little hard actually doing this with the camera, because I usually am looking down at the spring. But I take it and I start pushing down at the spring and putting a little bit of pressure here at our safety here, our safety catch. So while we work it down, what we're doing is we are just putting that pressure on to keep it from flying out until we are in. So now you see how our safety catch here is in, spring is down. We can take our brand new firing pin that's not broken, and we'll just show you here. You got the spring here for the pin, but you can easily see the firing pin tip. Now this firing pin I did get from Sarco. Sarco and Numeric do carry them. Numeric's one did not have the spring already attached. You would have to buy that separately and then crimp it on. I wanted to have the whole assembly, so I went ahead and went with Sarco, and that's why we have the whole assembly. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to put it in. Probably should have tested this first. And we'll push that a little bit. Pretty stiff, and now it went in. Now, I want you to see this. So, right now, you can only go in one way with this. And so, if you look at the back here, you got a small side and a fatter side. And that way, the firing pin can only go in one way. New firing pin, a lot stiffer. So, and there we got it. We can pull it back. And as we see, the firing pin is not protruding like the broken one was. So we know this one is not broken, obviously. So then our next step will be to get our whole trigger assembly. And again, I told you about with this coming apart, it likes to do it when you're going back together with it. So that's why I put my thumb here to hold it all together. What you're going to do is you're going to take this piece, and right here you have a gap. You're going to set this in like so. You're going to grab your barrel assembly, and you are going to push this section here onto the back section of this lug. So we're just going to push it until it locks in. And as I said, that's where this likes to come off because you're manipulating everything, so it wants to come out and work its way out. But the next step is we just take our assembly here. Our receiver comes on. You hold the back of this down so the receiver can slide on. You might have to wiggle a little. And there are these lugs where, let me pull this off just a hair. These lugs right here on both sides, they slide into these grooves on the receiver. So just like that. And now it's locked in. And you know it's locked in because the pin that you push to disassemble is all the way down. Like so. So now we have all that back assembled. All we have to do is put our magazine, spring, and follower in. And as quite simply, set it in, push down onto the button, and then push to the rearward. Now it's all in. And because this is a new firing pin, I am not dry firing. You do not want to be dry firing these old firearms. But we will be taking this out to the range once we get us some .763 Mauser ammo or .30 Mauser ammo, and we will give it some shots. So we really look forward to you coming back for that video where we actually talk about the history and development of this firearm. Because quite honestly, this was the most advanced handgun in the world at one point, pretty much at the turn of the century. So going into the early 1900s, this was it. This was very popular. It was popular all over the world. Winston Churchill carried a C96 during World War II, if I remember the story correctly. If I'm wrong, don't quote me on it. But if I'm right, go ahead. Both the Imperial Russians and the Bolsheviks loved these firearms, and that's actually where the Bolo name comes from, is for the Bolsheviks, because they bought a lot of these shorter bolo firearms in the 1920s. So you may have also heard the stories of the Chinese C96s. The Chinese got them during their Civil War and everything, and they even started manufacturing their own. They weren't as nice or as professional looking as the real deal. They were literal clone copies that were being made out of some hut, or in today's standards, somebody's garage, without the actual manufacturing tools. So they were doing everything by hand. But that's going to be a whole nother story for another video. So we look forward to seeing you next time on the Armory, and don't forget to stop by our website at thearmoryhub.com. If there's anything you need, just come take a look. If we have it, go buy it. If not, leave us a message, see what you're looking for. If we can find it for you, we'll let you know.